as a chef and traveled the world, and when I want to learn about a country, I go straight for the food. A country's dishes tell you the real story of a people and a place. And when I got my first taste of Spain, I instantly felt right at home.
This is the Spain that most people imagine. The southern beaches of Cadiz to the streets of Seville. Beautiful señoritas, bullfighting, and flamenco. This is the land of Carmen and Don Juan. Sexy, visceral, and hot.
Vive España y el sabor.
Good morning. On behalf of the Tourist Board of Spain, thank you for visiting the third virtual expo Conexión Spain. We have more than 40 exhibitors at the show that can give you all the information you need to plan a dream trip to Spain. And right now we have more than 2,000 registered visitors, so thank you so much for joining us today. We are also very honored to have Annie Sibonney with us this morning. Hi, Annie. Hi. Hi. Well, I'm sure you know that Annie is the co-creator and host of a very successful and award-winning show From Spain with Love, which is produced by Shaftesbury Films, and in which she invites the viewers to discover the rich gastronomy of Spain. But she's also the founder of Relish Culinary Tours, which designs unforgettable gastronomy adventures to Spain, with a focus being on remarkable food, wine, and personal behind-closed-door experiences. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you, Annie. And just for you to know, if you want to ask Annie any question, just write it in the chat tool and we'll pass it on to her. So, Annie, you seem really passionate about what you do. How did you start your career in gastronomy? Well, my career in gastronomy really started at home. I grew up in a completely food-obsessed home, and it was pretty clear to me from a very young age that food had this incredible power, I think, to bring people together, and I sort of carried that throughout my life and definitely into my career. It's definitely a profession that I'm very passionate about. I'm so passionate about Spain, but also about the power that food and travel has to really bring people together. And Suzanne, I'd like to also thank you personally and thank the Tourist Board of Spain for your gracious, incredible support and for believing in the show From Spain with Love when it was just a dream. So thank you on behalf of all of my production team. Really means the world to us. Thank you so much, and thank you. And why did you choose to do a show about Spain? It was clear to me from the first visit. The first time I stepped foot in Spain, it was love at first sight. I knew after kind of one taste, I knew that I was never going to be the same. I had never experienced in another place like quite as uniquely as in Spain, this kind of on a national scale, this obsession with food, and also people are so passionate about their culture and also about bringing people and loved ones around a table and connecting in that way. I felt really at home the first time I was in Spain. I think like the ubiquitousness of the tapas bars, for example, creates a kind of social construct that just lets people in Spain kind of pile out of their offices mid-morning for the mid-morning tapa, which is not breakfast, it's their second breakfast. And you know, all the way up to snacks and aperitivos and tapas during the day, and then 11 o'clock, 11 p.m. dinners that Spain is so famous for. It's for a girl like me who loves to eat and who travels like, with a one-track mind like that. It's heaven on earth. It really is. Nice. And what do you think has been the key to the success of the show From Spain with Love? Well, I think we tried to we set out to do some very important things with From Spain with Love, and I think we were successful at a few. One of them being to inspire people to travel and to take food as a way to get into and get to know a culture. through the food, through the dishes that people are the most proud of. It's such a strong unifying message, I think, and it was so easy to do in Spain. It really was. It was one of the things that attracted me to Spain, and it was certainly one of the messages that we wanted to be at the forefront with the show From Spain with Love. I also, just believe that that the show was a success because we tried to make it very inclusive for the viewer. So although this was my journey in Spain and the cameras were following me, the idea was to always turn back to the camera and to look at those viewers and that audience as if there were friends that I was constantly trying to include. And it's funny because a lot of people don't know this, but our crew, there wasn't anybody that spoke Spanish. There was one person who spoke Spanish in our crew, and they weren't everywhere at all times. So I was literally constantly translating to the camera, which was actually translating everything that was going on to my team. So my team, for the most part, you saw me on camera, but I was looking at a bunch of faces that kind of didn't know what was going on until I translated it into English. So it was, I think that we were successful in kind of portraying Spain in a very passionate, authentic way, and also making the audience feel really included and making them feel inspired by everything that we were seeing, everything that we were living, everything that we were doing. Such incredible chefs and amazing food to see. It was a dream come true. From Spain with Love was an absolute love letter to Spain.
Mm-hmm. And you've been to many regions in Spain, so I'm going to ask you about some of the destinations.
Sure.
So what do you think shouldn't be missed from a gastronomic point of view if you visit Valencia?
Valencia. I've only been to Valencia twice, and my second visit was certainly the most memorable. I would say that for anybody going to Valencia city, which is, I believe it's the third largest city in Spain, correct? Mm-hmm. So it definitely has so much to attract tourists from all over. But there's this one restaurant which is called Restaurante Levante restaurant, and the chef and owner is Rafael Vidal, and he has been called in many publications and by many people the Paella King because he is so passionate about Paella Valenciana. He would kill me if I didn't say Valenciana. The Paella Valenciana as the dish to be protected in the way that it's prepared and the ingredients that people use to call it a Paella Valenciana. Because Paella Valenciana is one of those dishes that you can find on Spanish menus, like outside of Spain, at Spanish restaurants, except there's so many versions of it. And I think that a lot of people felt that it was becoming distorted. It was becoming sort of like an amalgamation of wherever the dish was taking place in whatever restaurant around the world. And I think that he's done a tremendous amount to help protect that piece of kind of culinary, gastronomic patrimony, cultural patrimony for sure for Valencia. So it was incredibly special. The paella is like unlike anything you have ever tried. Definitely one of the most memorable dishes ever. I would urge anyone, if they're ever in the region of Valencia, to go to Restaurant Levante and try Rafa Vidal's paella for themselves. And also a nice thing to do would be to go to the Albufera to see to really understand why paella is such an emblematic dish of the region, to understand a little bit of the history of the rice fields, maybe take a tour by boat. Such a nice thing. And also in Alicante, not far from the city of Valencia, is a restaurant called Monastral, and the chef and owner is Maria Jose San Roman, and she is one of the most incredible, impressive ladies that you could meet, and she has done so much for Spanish cuisine, both in Spain and outside of Spain, and she's a wonderful chef. She's incredibly passionate. She created havoc on our social social networks like Twitter and Facebook when the olive oil episode came out. And she made this olive oil ice cream that people have been begging for the recipe, and I haven't posted it yet, but I will. I definitely will. But it's one of those things that she researches ingredients. She's passionate about ingredients. she's done a lot of work in recent years about saffron and using it in ways that most people don't or didn't think of before. So I have a lot of respect for her, and her daughters are also incredibly impressive and are both involved with her in the businesses. So she has Monastrell, which is a higher end restaurant in Alicante, and also for a sort of Spanish version of a gastro bar, she has La Taberna del Gourmet, which is also in Alicante. And I would urge anybody for a taste of that food that's so traditional to Alicante, to go to those restaurants because it'll change you.
Mm-hmm. And what about Madrid?
Madrid. Madrid is, it's funny because it's one of those cities where for the first couple of years I felt quite alone, because I would be, spending most of my time in the north, in the Basque Country, in Catalonia, and then I would always end up like in Madrid on my last night, and my last night would always be the most depressing night because I would, for the most part, stay in my hotel. But as soon as I met a couple of chefs from Madrid and started getting introduced to the culinary scene there, it changed me. Like it really changed me. My favorite restaurant in Madrid today is called El Fogón de Trifón. Those who have seen our show from Spain with Love will recognize the name from our Madrid, which is our all-night, our 24 hours in Madrid, which is an after-hours kind of eating guide to Madrid. So we start super late at night at the Mercado de San Miguel, which is one of the oldest and covered markets in Madrid, which is it's recently been renovated. It's a place where you can go and buy fish and produce and have a glass of wine and a tapa. It's a wonderful place. And then we continue to Fogón de Trifón, which is a minuscule restaurant and shouldn't create as much commotion as it creates. But the owner, Trifón, is one of the most affable, one of the most warm and gracious and charming and cool hosts that you can ever imagine. The restaurant maybe only has 4 or 5 tables, but somehow when you go, there's always room, for a seat at the bar or even at a table. It's a pretty magical place, and I urge anybody, do not miss this restaurant. Do not miss El Fogón de Trifón, because it's one of the most memorable meals you'll have. Very traditional Spanish dishes, but done with a super unique touch, and definitely a night that you won't forget. And it's a night that you can definitely go late. It's a place where you can eat late and have a fabulous, amazing time. It's my first stop in Madrid.
Right. And what about Andalusia in southern Spain?
Andalusia is it's one of those mysterious, super romantic, very, just such a charming place. There's so many places in Andalusia, but what I would probably recommend Granada. Granada is one of my top destinations in Andalusia. It has kind of everything that you're looking for. It has, the legacy of the Christians, the Moors, the Jews, kind of all there, and much more. You also have like the Gypsies, for example, and you have the Phoenicians and the Romans. But it can be tasted in everything. You taste the cultural legacy. It's a pretty spectacular place, and I would recommend that people go to the Albaicín, which is the old Arab quarter, of course. Just to get you feel like you're walking in the streets of like North Africa, for example. And there's this one bar which I never tell anybody about, and well, you won't tell anybody about. I'm sure. It's called Bar FM, Bar FM in Spanish, and FM stands for Francisco Martin. Francisco, as you know, in Spanish, like sometimes as as a short form, they say Paco. So I know him as Paco Martin, but it's FM for Francisco Martin. It's also a tiny bar that I have no idea. I can't even remember the person who told me about it, but I can't find it in any guidebooks. And it is a temple for seafood. A temple for seafood, unlike any other bar probably that I've tried in Spain. It's run by Francisco and his wife, and it's in a rural suburb
so not right in the city center of Granada, which explains why it's such a local place, and not that many tourists actually end up there. But we did film there in our Granada episode, and one of the coolest, craziest, wackiest things that I've ever seen is the way that they do this dish, which is called pulpo seco, which is dried octopus. And it's an actual ancient Phoenician technique of drying octopus. And literally, we took the tentacles, we cleaned them, and we hung them on clothespins on a clothing line in the kitchen with like a fan, and so they're semi-dry, they still have some moisture, and it's just simply sliced and served with some cabbage on a plate and just lightly dressed. It is to die for, and I've never seen it anywhere else, anywhere. So, it may exist out there, but I know that I've been dreaming since we filmed there to go back just for that dish and to see that lovely, lovely couple from Barastem.
Nice. And Santiago de Compostela in northern Spain?
Santiago de Compostela, it is an incredible place. And I think that probably a lot of tourists don't go to Galicia that often because it's a little farther, but it really isn't. It's really the same like going to any other destination in Spain. It's just a short plane ride from Madrid or from any other major city. And it is, for a seafood lover, and I'm a seafood lover, it's heaven. Like it's an incredible place to visit, and certainly one of my favorite restaurants in the country, and my favorite restaurant in Santiago is called Casa Marcelo. And we filmed at Casa Marcelo for our Seafood to Die For episode, which was also an award-winning episode. And the chef, his name is Marcelo Tejedor, and also created a lot of commotion on our social feeds, Twitter and Facebook, because we have a little bit of a sexy scene there in that episode. But it was such an incredible experience. It really was.
And what about Toledo?
Toledo. It is definitely a place where I would say that people should visit. It's a city also where you feel the three cultures, and it's just the history is so apparent, and the air is so thick with the history and the beauty and the grandeur. When you're driving into Toledo, and we were driving in like right at sunset, nobody could speak. And I was thinking to myself, I couldn't believe I was even there. I couldn't believe what I was looking at. I couldn't believe that we were about to enter like such incredible beauty. And it's definitely something that I won't forget. It's filled with all sorts of monuments, synagogues and churches and mosques, and the architecture is so stunning. It looks like it's out of a storybook, and it's not that far from Madrid to drive or to take a train. So I would urge almost anyone, like, don't go to Madrid if you're not going to also go to Toledo. It's just such an amazing place. And the best restaurant that I found in Toledo is called Restaurant Adolfo. And it is a really special place run by a father and son. Adolfo is the father and Javier is the son. So Adolfo and Javier Munoz is the last name. Really passionate family. And we filmed with them in our olive oil episode as well. And when I think of the restaurant, I remember something super special that happened there was they cook in a really subtle and clean way where kind of flavors, the purity of the flavors really prevail in all of the dishes. And they're not too many ingredients in a dish. They're just beautiful in their simplicity and their mastery of technique. And we were making together a saffron rice. And Javier, the son, disappeared into the wine cellar, and he is the sommelier of the restaurant as well. And he came back with what looked like almost like a treasure box filled with saffron. That when he opened it, it looked like there was a light beaming from the box and illuminating his face. It looked so like such a religious experience. It was the most incredible thing that we probably ate on that trip. And they make a really special wine called Pago de Ama. And it's worth a trip to Toledo just to buy a bottle of their exquisite wine. They made us the saffron risotto, a saffron rice, and served it with this incredible wine, and made a toast that had us all in tears. And I wish I could remember it, but the guys in our crew were reciting it because they knew that if they made that toast to any woman, she would fall in love madly with them. So probably two very, very, very charming guys, and definitely a house, a restaurant where you'll walk into and feel like there's a purpose to this trip and that you're being welcomed into somebody's home.
Beautiful. I'm going to pass you a question from one of our listeners. Okay. He's asking, or she's asking, I don't know the name. Okay, they're asking if there is any interesting blog that you can recommend to find details about restaurants, recipes, and known spots in Spain.
Yes. So blogs, no, but publications. I'm not very familiar with any blogs about Spain, but publications. The Spain Gourmet Tour is one of the publications that I would definitely say is an incredible resource. We used it as a resource when we were researching also for our crew. So it was and for the filming. So it was certainly. It was very, very useful. The photography is stunning, and they're really on top of kind of what's going on for sure in Spain. There's another publication that is spectacular, which is called Cook Circus, and one of the guys that's involved in it, his name is Xavier Agullo, and he's from Catalonia. He's from Barcelona, and he's a very, very respected journalist, and he also he runs this publication, which is unbelievable. Photography is also incredible, just as Spain Gourmet Tour. So those two, I'm always reading their articles for sure.
And they can also follow you, obviously, right?
Yeah, and I mean the show from Spain with Love is a great resource. It was for sure something that we intended. We intended for people to kind of leave the series, and as they were following the series, with resources, with tools, almost like that they had a guidebook that they could kind of follow in our footsteps. And nothing was staged. We didn't go to anywhere that was mediocre. I shun, all of those middle of the road places, and I just go to seek out very, very special places, or because they're so traditional and unique, or super rustic, or very elaborate and avant-garde. So it's kind of a nice point of view, because people who travel a lot, I think, don't need my help, for the middle of the road. But I think that extra guidance for what's really rustic, what's really traditional, what's really unique, you'll find a lot of that on the show. I wish that we had a book about all of the places that we visit, because it would make an absolutely fantastic guidebook for sure. And I would mention that for another show, which did so much also for Spain, and we watched also as research for our show, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for him, is Jose Andres' show, Made in Spain. So that is also a series that, although it's been around for a few years, it still has an unbelievable following, because he's so dynamic and charismatic and so passionate, and also so talented, and of course knows the country inside and out. It's a fantastic series, and I would urge anybody who loves Spain to watch From Spain with Love, and also to watch Made in Spain with Jose Andres.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So another listener is asking us, is there any culinary festival that you could recommend to visit? I'm guessing here or in, it doesn't specify if it's here.
Probably in Spain. I can't remember all of the names off the top of my head. I know that there is Madrid Fusión, which is in Madrid every year, and there's also Gastronomica, which is in San Sebastian every year. Those two are definitely festivals that conferences, festivals that I go to every year. They attract the best chefs in the country, the best chefs from around the world, certainly. And if you're not a trade person, like if you're not from the industry necessarily, there are also plenty of things that you can enjoy, kind of being from the public. And definitely around Madrid Fusión, like Madrid is totally like exploding with like commotion and energy and fun and filled with chefs, like chefs that are both artists and total delinquents. That seems to be something that's pretty common, like with all very brilliant chefs from around the world. There's no more fun that you can have. Mm-hmm. Chefs are so much fun because they work so hard and they know how to have fun.
And another person is asking us, what will be your top 3 favorite Spanish dishes?
Top 3 favorite Spanish dishes. So hard because I think because Spain is such a varied, between the regions, like the cuisine varies so much, both because of culture, but also climate, topography, all of those things where you have, certain ingredients that grow in one region and not in others, like even language and even politics that can play a role in kind of what people of the region eat. So I would, having that said, I can't narrow it down to 3, but I will. I will just for the purposes of this question. The Basque Country I spend a lot of time. I would say that merluza and salsa verde, which is a hake and green sauce, is probably one of, definitely one of my top 3 dishes. It was my first dish that I ever had in San Sebastian on my first visit to the Basque Country. So I would definitely say it's very easy to make at home. You can look up a recipe, probably even a recipe that I wrote on the internet and make it at home. It's incredible. I would say, though, it's not a dish per se, but jamón. Lots of ham. Like I often joke that I'm completely made of ham because it must make up every single fiber of my body because I eat my weight in ham every single time I go to Spain. So I love ham, and it's Spanish jamón, whether it's Ibérico de Bellota, like the black hook pig, or whether it's jamón serrano ham. It's just a flavor that I can't get out of my system when I get back home, and I need it all the time. And like often smuggle in like a couple of pieces so I can eat it at the airport. And let's see, a third dish would have to be. It would be a toss-up, I think, between Rafa Vidal's Paella Valenciana in Valencia and the bull's tail stew, the estofado de rabo de toro, in the restaurant El Fogón de Sifón in Madrid. Mm-hmm. So I would say there is no trip to Spain probably that I don't have those dishes, and I need them. And if I come back to Canada without having those dishes, I'll collapse like out of sheer anguish.
I think we're all salivating right now. And one other listener is asking us if in Valencia, can you learn how to cook a paella? He would like to know.
Yes, absolutely. So definitely. So the same restaurant that I spoke about, which is Restaurante Levante, and it's a Levante restaurant, and mm-hmm. the chef and owner is Rafael Vidal. He gives cooking courses, which we also took part in one of his cooking courses when we were filming the show. It was such an extraordinary experience. He really gets, to the kind of no nonsense, like heart and soul of what a paella valenciana means and how to kind of do it step by step. And it's definitely something that you can reproduce anywhere. Ideally it's done over an open fire, but if you don't have that, you can also do it on a stovetop or even like a gas grill. outside for sure, but he has cooking classes that he runs all year long, and I've sent many people through my company, through Relish, to learn how to make paella from him, and people's lives have, been changed for sure. It's one of those impressive go-to dishes that for any party, like imagine bringing out a huge paella like to the table and give everybody just like their own spoons. And there's rules, like Rafa, he taught me that there's rules to eating a paella, where you put it in the center of the table and everybody kind of gathers around the table. And I love that. I love that the dish brings people together, but also that there are like these imaginary lines in the paella pan where everybody kind of knows that this is my paella here. Like I can't go over there and eat your paella. It's just a line that you can't see, but you kind of stay within your area. I got my hand slapped by Rafa because I went to his side of the paella pan. So I learned quickly.
That's great. And there was one other question. Oh yeah, about the market. This person loves San Miguel's market.
Yes.
And they're asking me if you know any other market, like maybe in Barcelona or Madrid that you.
Yeah, definitely. There's certainly one of my favorite markets in Spain is the Boqueria market, Mercado de la Boqueria in Barcelona. One of my favorite spots. We in our episode about Barcelona, we started off at the market, and I love this question, by the way. So thank you, because the market has always kind of symbolized for me a sort of like a rooted kind of starting point that grounds me. Whenever I go to a place for the first time, or I'm in a country for the first time, or in a city that I don't know, I start at the market because, there's a history behind this, but I found myself in South America as a young girl in a city that I didn't know, and I didn't know Spanish, and I didn't know anyone, and I went to the market in Quito, Ecuador. That was the place, and something transformative happened to me there, where I realized that I was being fed by these lovely ladies in that market, and that I understood the context of everything that was happening around me because I grew up in a home like I did. And the same thing happened, and the first time I went to Barcelona, I went to the Boqueria market, and I had this moment where I kind of understood everything. So it's like my rule now, where I go to a new city, a new place, and I start at the market. It's my ground zero, and I feel like I can approach the city and understand it once I see the activity in the market and once I see the people. And for the market, I have to tell you too about two places where you definitely won't be disappointed. Is one is called Bar Pinocho, and it's right when you go into the Boqueria market from the entrance of the Ramblas. It's right at the entrance, just slightly to your right. And the thing to do in Barcelona is always going to be full. Always, there's never going to be a seat available. But don't worry, like do as they do in Barcelona and just stand behind someone and wait for them to finish and get up, and then just take their seat, which is how to get a seat there. But you will not be disappointed. The food is incredible. It's all small dishes. One of my favorite things to order is a scrambled eggs and kind of clam dish, and also baby squid and a special kind of white bean from Catalonia, so squid and white bean. It's a very special place, and the owner, Juanito, is quite a famous character in Barcelona. He's really one of the most charming men that you'll ever meet. He's been there forever, it seems. He knows everyone, and the quality is always impeccable. Like, they never fail. And there's another great bar that I also discovered on a recent trip to Barcelona with a good friend of mine whose name is Carlos Avellan, and he's also a chef in Barcelona, very, very supremely talented, and probably most well known for his restaurants Tapas 24 and also Comerç 24, but also Bravo 24, which is spectacular, and a new tapas bar that they opened, which is called Succulent. And he took me also to a bar in the Boqueria market that's called El Kim de la Boqueria. and it is a fabulous place. I think we probably ate everything on the menu, and maybe our last course was a big burger with like a big slab of foie gras. And needless, I didn't eat for 2 days after, but that was such a memorable experience, and I would urge anybody to go to the Boqueria Market, and I would also urge for that tapas, you know, a tapas restaurant that you'll never forget is Tapas 24 in Barcelona. I have to go there once a day when I'm in Barcelona because they're open from breakfast until dinner. So I just choose what meal I go to.
Thank you, Annie. And what is next for you? What is next for Annie Sibonney?
Well, we have some stuff cooking, definitely. I'm being a little quiet because it's not public yet. I can't give you the details. But definitely some stuff cooking, and it will definitely involve me eating a lot and also getting on a plane. So definitely stay tuned. You can go to our Facebook page. So it's Annie Sibonney from Spain with Love, and we'll be updating everyone as soon as we can on this really new and exciting project, and also on Twitter at Annie Sibonney, and also at relish-tours.com.
Wow, thank you so very much, Annie.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure sharing with you this interview and your love for Spain and the food. And well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. No, the pleasure was all mine, and thank you to all of you who tuned in. It was wonderful to be able to speak about Spain. Obviously, so passionate about it, and I really urge everyone to just, stop thinking about it. Just buy a ticket, get on a plane, and just go devour the country. It's so worth it, and it will change you forever.
Thank you. Thanks so much. And for those of you listening to us, thank you for joining us. And now we invite you to visit the more than 40 exhibitors at the virtual expo Conexión Spain. Please chat with them and let them help you organize your next trip to Spain. So you will also have a chance to win more than 20 prizes, including amazing trips to Spain. Just saying. Thank you, and have a really good day. Thanks. Goodbye.